Hello everyone, I'm Matt Hunt, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the process of how to upload and analyze your own hands from online poker using the Octopi uploader and the database function on the site. So let's dive in and I'll show you where to start with this process. So the first thing that we're going to do here on the Octopi homepage is we're going to go up to My Hands here in the top left. Now what you're going to see at the top is a couple of example hands from our friend Andrew Lichtenberger here, with some basic hands that you can review, but you're not going to need to worry too much about those. Instead, what you're going to need to do is go to the uploader. Now, the uploader is actually a separate program that you have to download to your desktop, and it should be the desktop or the laptop that you play online poker on. You're going to need to have it on the same computer where your online hands are stored. Obviously, we have different versions for Mac OS and Windows here, so you can download whichever one you need. You can see I already have it installed here, so I'm not going to need to download it for you. But I'm going to switch over now to the uploader itself and show you what it looks like and how to actually use it to upload your hands. Okay, so this is what the Octopi uploader looks like. You can see it's actually mostly just a big white screen because it's a pretty simple application, not very much you have to do with it, pretty simple to use. What you're going to find is a couple of options on the left-hand side. You have the dashboard where it's going to show you how many hands you have from each site that you're playing on and each site that you're using. And it's also, of course, going to track the progress of any current uploads that you have going on. Now, the tab where you're going to need to actually choose your settings is, of course, the settings tab. So this is the settings screen. As you can see, it's quite simple. We have a couple of sections here, one for each of the poker sites that you have hands from on your computer. I have borrowed a few hands from some of our users, so thank you to those of you who lent me a few hands here since I didn't have any hand histories on my computer. So in general, there's a couple of things that you're going to have to do here. You're going to have to specify the location of the hand histories and the tournament histories that are saved on your computer. You can find those through the poker site themselves. There's always going to be an option in there that's going to show you and allow you to choose where hand histories are downloaded to on your computer. You're also, of course, going to be able to go up to edit list here and add more poker sites if you do have more hands from places other than ACR or Stars. I believe we're also compatible with GG Poker right now. And I think there are other sites on the way. We're working on compatibility with other sites as well. I'll give you guys some updates on those as and when they're available. Now, the option up here that just says uploader just gives you the basic details. You can change the name of how your computer is listed here, but that doesn't really matter. The auto upload button is a nice, easy function here because if you have this enabled, it will automatically upload any hand in tournament as it gets played. All the data is going to be completely up to date that way, and you're not going to have to continually manually upload as and when you play more hands and more tournaments. So if we go back to the dashboard, you can see how many hands here I have from each of the sites. 3,782 from Stars, none from ACR right now. What you can do is upload them manually. You will see if you don't have any hands here, there will be options to allow you to do a manual upload. Or if you go back to settings and you just disable this auto upload option, it is going to give you the ability to upload here if I haven't just done it. So obviously it's not enabled right now, but I think it's generally easiest just to have the auto upload ticked. The about button doesn't really do much other than it has a contact button if you have any problems. Generally, this is all you're really going to need. The uploader is going to take care of everything as far as the upload process goes. It's going to sweep your computer for hands every time they're played. So you're not really going to have to do a lot of manual uploading. The only thing is going to be just making sure that you have the right folders enabled for it to sweep and search to find the hands on your computer. When you're done and when your hand histories are up to date, you can just go down here to the Go to Database button, and this is going to take you right back to Octopi and allow you to see where the hands are stored and give you the chance to get started with analyzing them and reviewing some of your play. So let's dive back into Octopi and start doing some of that right now. So we're back on our main Octopi homepage here, and we're just going to go straight to My Hands right here. Now, as you can see, it's also registered some of the new hands that have just uploaded. We've got 23 hands now uploaded for the last 7 days. And this is the full scope of hands that I've uploaded over the course of making this video. So we've got about 2,000 hands in there. We can click either one of these to either view the overall hands here or just the hands that have been recently uploaded. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to database. Now, this is a full perspective on all the hands that you have uploaded. You've got on the left-hand side the filters where you can look at hands that fit specific criteria. So we can just clear all the filters here and you can see it doesn't bring up any hands. So in order to bring up some hands, you have to actually highlight specific areas that you want to look at. So let's say, for example, I'm going to look at all the hands that I have in here from PokerStars. Let's just do that. Now, if I wanted to, I can look at live tours, but of course, if you're going to enter live hands into your database, you have to track the details yourself. You have to manually input everything. And of course, that's a tricky process. It's not easy to do that, but it is a really useful tool for those of you who play live on a frequent basis. Now, we can also just add some filters to the hands here. You can see we've got stages, open reg, post reg, ITM bubble, etc. We've got different board cards. We've got uploaded date, played date, and then we've got according to which hands actually match our pre-flop sims or our post-flop sims in a perfect or a possible way. So the sims are going to be automatically compared to your hands when you upload them, and you're going to get an immediate response there about whether there's a sim that you can use to study that hand. So there's a lot of different parameters that you can use to search here, but let's just say I want to find hands from PokerStars to begin with. I'm going to hit the Find Hands button, and it's going to, after a second, pop up all the recent hands that I have from PokerStars that were provided by one of our users. And if you want to upload more hands, of course, we've got a button here for that. If you want to view the hands just in a simple list format, you can check this option here in the top right, and you can see them displayed a bit differently like this. We've got pot size, we've got effective stack, although the effective stack isn't easy to track when it's just a pre-flop hand because there's so many different stacks in there. And of course, we've got whether or not you've reviewed it, and we've got options here for adding it to your review queue. We've got a sharing option, and of course, you can just delete it as well. So I'm going to go back to the standard view here because we can see the hand history on the right-hand side. You can see some of the details of the hand here on the left. We also have a download button on the top if you want to export this hand history and send it to a friend. And we've got some of the just basic details of the stacks and the tournament itself over here. So this is everything that you're going to need in order to just look through your hands, look through the hands that you've uploaded. You can see we've also got filters over here for VPIP and things like that, voluntarily putting money in pot. So if you want to just specifically look at all the hands you've played, that's a nice shortcut there. So I'm just going to hit this first hand, Queen 10 off. Now, if we want to review this one, obviously we can just start by just playing through the hand history. We've got a 2 big blind open and everybody folds, right? Very simple hand history. And we can see here that as far as the libraries go, obviously there's no post-flop play, so there's no post-flop library match here. And there is a possible pre-flop match, but we don't have a direct one. You can see right here, if I click on that button, it takes me to this 35 big blind even stacked sim, and it gives me a chance to review what the opening range would be. So I can get a general sense here, but of course, it's only a possible match. It's a close match, but it's not an accurate match because of the fact that the stacks behind us are very different, right? We've got 46 big blinds, 18, and then 21. So not a perfect match, but it does allow you to get a quick and rapid insight into whether or not the play that you made corresponds approximately with what the solver would do. Now, if I want to find a hand that is a bit more complex, I'm going to go back to the list of hands here, and I'm going to try to look for a hand that allows us to look at comparing with a post-flop sim. So what I'm going to do is go straight to the filters over here, hit change filters, and I'm just going to reset them all to the default, and then hit find hands. So we've got basically the full library, full database here. And what I'm specifically going to do is I'm going to sort for sims that match with post-flop. So we're going to go unticking all of these. Not going to worry about pre-flop sims. We're going to specifically search for sims that have a near perfect match post-flop. Now, this is going to give us a pretty decent idea of what types of sims we can use to compare with some of these spots. And as you can see, our first situation that comes up is this first hand, ace 5 of clubs, king 9-4, 2 diamonds board. So let's hit the review button, and immediately it's just going to bring up the hand. We've got 18 big blinds, we min raise, big blind calls, and now we go to a flop here with a very accurate match in this situation. I would assume that what's happening is it's matching to our 20 big blind, hijack big blind sims. So we've got a small bet and a fold, and we move forward. Now, if we wanted to actually compare it to the pre-flop library and the post-flop library, you can actually just click on these little buttons right here. This is a pretty accurate representation of the spot. As you can see, it is the 20 big blind pre-flop sim, so you can check your pre-flop play right there. Hit the back button, and if I hit the post-flop library button, it takes me right to this post-flop chip EV sim where I can compare ace-5 of clubs on king-9-4 against what the sim wants to do. So I get a really nice, accurate insight there into what the appropriate strategy would be for this hand that we just played. Now, obviously, the location of accurate sims here is going to be a bit of a hit and miss game because real life poker hands don't always mirror everything that we have in the archive. We're not solving in real time. We're just comparing it to the archive. So there are going to be a lot of useful hands that you can look at, but there's also stuff that we have to be aware of that is going to be a little bit wide of the mark. The hands aren't going to match up exactly. You can also access the pre-flop and post-flop sims from this menu over on the left-hand side. I can do the same thing right here. I can browse through the pre-flop and so on. So there's a lot that you can do there just to get a great level of insight into how your play is comparing to the sims. And I would also recommend playing around with similar sims, looking at different board textures, different types of situations, to see if the strategy that you would have implemented or did implement in real time is going to match up well with the sims for that spot. Now, we have a queue over on the left-hand side of all the hands that we're going to review. And as you can see, there's 11 hands in this queue right now. And that's because this queue is essentially a reflection of the filter that I just added to the database here. We can see the queue. If we click on it, there's 11 hands in there because we filtered specifically for hands that are fitting with the parameters that we just mentioned. This is what the process looks like. There's not going to be a ton of need for too much of a different adaptive kind of process here. If you have a large quantity of hands, you're going to get a lot out of this. You're going to be able to identify specific situations to study that are quite closely representative of the sims that we have in the library. And of course, I would also recommend that you explore the rest of the sims in our library as well, because of course, there are going to be spots that haven't yet come up that will come up in future, which are important to study. Now, before we wrap this video, I want to also give you guys a little bit of advice about how to get the most out of comparing your hands with sims using the database mode. So what I'm going to do is just run through this same ace-5 suited hand again here. And I want to show you a little bit of an example of the process that I think is most useful when it comes to analyzing a situation and reviewing a hand. So we've got a hand here where we open ace-5 suited in the hijack. We probably want to start with some kind of a hypothesis or a question that we're trying to ask here. Not just, did I play this hand right, but what would be our appropriate opening range or strategy from the hijack, for example, with this 18 big blind stack. If I look at the appropriate and corresponding pre-flop sim, you can see here that even though it's 20 big blinds and not 18, it's still giving us a pretty accurate representation of how this strategy looks. The first thing is that we don't have any jams. We do have about a 26% opening range, so definitely reasonably wide, even though we're quite short. And ace-5 suited is very much in there. So as far as the first question that we've asked here, it might be, should I open this hand? What should my opening range look like? This is the answer. Second question might be something like, if the big blind had shoved, then what would I do? Would I call? Would I fold? Let's take a look. Because if we look at the pathway that we follow here in the pre-flop sim that involves the big blind shove, you can see that ace-5 suited would be a clear fold. So in game, we didn't get shoved on, of course, but a useful question to ask here is to think about the alternative options that didn't happen but could have happened. And in this case, knowing what our call-off range looks like is going to be a very valuable thing. So that's pre-flop. But now let's say I want to try to get some insights into post-flop here. We go back into the hand. We see what the flop was. Obviously, we opened, we got called. It was king 9-4, 2 diamonds. And we're going to take a look here at not just the specific hand that we have, but the flop strategy that we think we would be implementing. So for example, we ask ourselves at this point, maybe not just should I bet ace-5 suited, but what does my betting range look like here? What bet sizes am I going to use? How often am I going to bet? How much overall betting volume do I want to put in? And before we check the post-flop library, we have some idea of those answers in our mind. Maybe we write them down, take some notes, and then we review the post-flop and get a sense of what the strategy looks like. You can see here that there is actually a small amount of the larger size being used here. There's a lot of small betting. Ace-5 suited is a pretty good small bet hand, as you can see. Very reasonable to go with the small bet option here, but there is also some large bet going in there. So we might now take some notes that say, surprising amount of large bet here, even at shallow stacks. Maybe ace-5 suited can bet large sometimes. Maybe we would be mixing some large bets. But we take some notes about the overall spot, the overall strategy that we're employing, not just the specific hand that we're looking at. And we use that to inform how we study some of these other situations. Particularly if you have a lot of situations that are at similar stack sizes, analyzing multiple different spots is really going to give you insight into different types of situations. It's going to help you plan your overall strategy and build your ranges more effectively. So it's important not to get stuck into just thinking about, did I make the right play with this hand? Because the goal is to learn more about what the right play is with our entire range and as an overall strategic viewpoint on a specific situation. So if you want to get the most meaningful insights, don't focus just on the individual hand that you have. So now that we've talked through some of the key ideas for getting the most out of the database function on Octopi, I want to just share with you guys a few useful resources that might be helpful to you as you continue your learning process. In general, if you have any issues, outages, or any problems with Octopi as a whole, our Discord is the best place to be. If you're in the Discord already, you can find various channels there where you can get updates about issues or outages, and of course, new features as well. We've got the Known Issues channel, the Issues and Bugs channel, the New Feature Request channel, and of course, the Octopi News channel for all of the latest features that are going out with the latest updates. So do get yourself onto our Discord. You can find the link back on the Octopi homepage. Very straightforward, but also a really great place to connect with other Octopi users and really get a sense of how people are getting the most out of the platform. If you are struggling with any aspects of the product itself or the site itself, we have some product tutorials that you can find on our Octopi YouTube channel. A number of them are made by myself, but we also have some by Johan, some by Victoria, and of course, some by Stephen Chidwick. Now, more videos are going to continue to be added in future as we release new features and we keep upgrading the library and the tools that we have available, so stay tuned for more of that. Finally, you can also ask George. George is our resident octopus friend and our helpful poker assistant. He knows everything about the Octopi platform, and he can also offer advice on basic poker concepts. However, be aware that he doesn't actually understand strategy yet. We're still working on the process of teaching him how to actually play. If you want to know where to find George, it's quite simple. There is an Ask George button on the main homepage that you can find at the top on the right-hand side. So any of your issues or questions, either check out George or you can pose those questions in the Discord, and we would love to have you in there as part of the Octopi community. So thank you, everybody. I hope this video has been useful. If there are any more videos you'd like to see from me soon about how to get the most out of the Octopi tools, please do let me know in Discord or elsewhere. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Good luck.